Hey, my name's ShawNshawN. I sell art on ShawNshawN.co and specials on eBay. Today we're going to review Angel Has Fallen. So this is kind of a continuing story of kind of these, hits on the U.S. president or whatever. And I think they did one in Washington, and London is falling as well. And so this time it's actually the secret agent, head of the secret agent, falling. So Mike is kind of the second in command for the Secret Service. He's thinking of maybe moving up to director, but then he's out of the active line of duty, and he's like, I kind of don't like that. So there's a little bit of, under the scenes brewing. At the same time, he has kind of a head trauma from various different things working in the Secret Service. So he's getting headaches all the time, and so he's having trouble doing his job. So he's like, well, should I retire, kind of issues. So in the middle of this, he's kind of on a boating trip with the president in the middle of the lake, and these flock of drones fly up and then attack the president. They blow up all the Secret Service except for Mike, and Mike races out to the president. He's like, dive, dive, dive. They dive underwater, and they dive under, and then the drones hit, but they don't kill the president. So the president's in a coma, and the bad guys, they think, oh, we're fine, we're done, job done. The VP takes over, and then it turns out the VP is actually reversing the policies of Trombone. So Trombone had this policy before is kind of get rid of all these private mercenary kind of forces and then bring back in the U.S. Army, and the VP has actually reversed this. So at that point, as soon as a VP comes in the picture, you're like, this is who's behind all the possible hit job, or at least, the gaining party. And Mike's old friend, Wade Jennings, they were both in the 3rd Infantry, I guess, in the Army, one of these teams. They went their different ways, and Wade Jennings ended up running this private security, and Mike is obviously under the Secret Service. So one's serving for country, one's serving for money. They're good old buddies, but then it turns out actually, Wade has betrayed him and set him up. So this is kind of the crux of the story. So there had some kind of underlying themes, because if Obama had his running mate as kind of Dick Cheney, so you have these opposing dynamics where you have Dick Cheney kind of like trying to take over from behind the scenes, and you have Obama kind of ruling from the top. So it's kind of, funny take on politics, you would say, like left and right, they wouldn't even be in the same thing, but that'd probably be the best way to set it up, actually, have opposing parties run as the backup, because, if they fall, then immediately you got the second runner-up, right? Of course, the second runner-up would hate that job, but anyway. So it has that kind of personal dynamic running out, as well as your discussion of the theme. Should you have a private security force? Should you have a U.S. Army? Another thing that, they don't really touch on the film, but is, how do they take care of the vets after the war, after they're broken, and they want to kind of isolate themselves? And do they get a payout or not? They don't really get paid out. They sacrifice their whole life, and, the honor is supposed to be enough for them. And you're like, well, yeah, but they have the rest of their life to live. How do they live just on honor? They need a paycheck. They need disability. They need kind of to be taken care of. So you have this dynamic, if you're a retired soldier and you're still lying, you go into the mercenary, you make a lot of money. So is that a wrong thing? At the same time, does that corrupt the U.S. forces? So there's kind of this nice dynamic between mercenaries and U.S. Army, and kind of the debate under the scenes theme of this movie. You also have kind of this, if you're a tough guy kind of guy, you need to take this meds, and it's very American to, like hide all your pains, and I'm the tough guy, I can do this. It's interesting because you have this in office jobs quite a bit, where people have lower back pains, they might have tunnel syndrome from not using their arm except for typing and the mouse work. It all boils down to not exercising enough, more or less, in a lot of cases. But this kind of gets to how you deal with an aging workforce, and in America it's always just tough it out, we're going to be the tough guy till we get to retirement, then we're done. And so it's this really interesting dynamic of the country values, I would say, under the U.S. You're always going to work 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week, do the job no matter what. And it's like, yeah, but do you have a freaking life, dude? Probably not. But you were the tough guy for your life, and then you have like 10 years of retirement for yourself. You're like, okay, man, that kind of sucks. But now if you run your own business, it's a different ball of wax, because then it's like, it's your personal passion, your choice. But if you're forced to do these 40-hour work weeks for 60 years, it's like, is that really how you should really take care of your elders? I don't know. Also, at the same point, your mind's still sharp at those ages until, if you get Alzheimer's like Reagan, you should probably sit the hell down. But, if your mind's pretty sharp, you can use all these guys in office office jobs, corporate jobs, running big companies. So, you know, there's that little bit of a dynamic of when you should retire, and you have this older president, this younger VP, and the younger VP has a lot more energy. The older guy's kind of like, you know, he's closer to the coffin than he is to this youth anymore. So it plays out a lot of dynamics, but as well as wisdom versus gun-ho-ism. You see that a little bit played out in the reality of the real world with Putin when he had his kind of older wife. He was kind of more stable, wasn't so crazy, and then he dropped her for this young gymnast, and then he starts thinking like a 30-year-old, which is really immature mind, and he starts like, oh, we'll invade this country and invade that country and start attacking here, and you're like, you're acting like a freaking 30-year-old idiot, you know? And that's what Putin's kind of adapting, hanging around this 30-year-old gymnast. But hey, what am I to say? If I lived in Russia, you'd probably get shot for that, but whatever. I don't live in Russia, thank God. But yeah, I think it's a pretty fun action movie. There's not much to read into it. It's 2 hours long. It's, you know, half an hour long that I normally like, but, you know, this doesn't feel slow at any moment. You've developed all the characters. You kind of developed some of the FBI agent like Jada Pinkett Smith, so that was really cool. Yeah, definitely a really nice film. I'd recommend it. It's very entertaining. If you want to subscribe, you can subscribe below. And I'll see you in the next movie review. Thanks for watching, guys.